And look, Donald Trump this is not someone who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. In less than 90 days, either he or I will be in the Oval Office.
Seguimos escuchando a Kamala Harris, que está mostrando cuáles son algunas de las líneas de su mandato. Dice que quiere luchar contra los grandes bancos, que quiere luchar por la educación pública. También decía que quiere luchar por las mujeres y, de nuevo, lanza todo tipo de ataques contra Donald Trump. Dice que es inestable, que está obsesionado con la venganza y que no pasa página de lo que sucedió hace 4 años. Seguimos escuchando a Kamala Harris.
Full of priorities about what I will get done for you, the American people. And at the top of my list is bringing down your cost of living. That will be my focus every single day as president. I will give a middle-class tax cut to over 100 million Americans. Enact the first ever federal ban on price gouging on groceries. Fight to make sure that hardworking Americans can actually afford a place to live. And if you are caring for an elderly parent, my plan will cover the cost of home care under Medicare so that seniors can get the help and care they need to stay in their own homes. And my plan will lower the cost of childcare, cut taxes for small businesses, and lower health care costs, because I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. On the other hand, Donald Trump's answer to the financial pressures you face is the same as last time. Another $1 trillion.
Kamala Harris, de nuevo hablando sobre Donald Trump, sobre sus planes económicos, dice que quiere, en materia de salud, ampliar el Medicare. Dice que si alguno de los asistentes a este evento tiene algún anciano, algún abuelo, ella se va a asegurar de que pueda estar bien, de que puedan cubrir todo lo que necesite. Dice que la salud es un deber y no es un gasto. Seguimos escuchando a Harris.
If he were to win, which would throw millions of Americans off their health insurance and take us back to when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like? Well, we are not going back. We are not going back. And we are not going back because ours is a fight for the future. And it is a fight for freedom. Like the fundamental freedom of a woman to be able to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. And we all remember how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. They did. And now in America, 1 in 3 women lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban, including in North Carolina and every state in the South except Virginia. Think about that. Many with no exceptions, even for rape and incest, which is immoral. And Donald Trump, understand, he's not done. He would ban abortion nationwide. He would restrict access to birth control, put IVF treatments at risk, and forced states to monitor women's pregnancies. Just Google Project 2025. Just Google it. Read the plans yourself and let us agree. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be making that decision for you. Not the government. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. So, North Carolina, I am asking for your vote. I am asking for your vote. And here is my pledge to you. As your president, I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to the challenges you face. I am not looking to score political points. I am looking to make progress. And I pledge to you, I will listen to experts. I will listen to those impacted by the decisions I make and to people who disagree with me.
Seguimos escuchando las palabras de Kamala Harris. Habla sobre uno de los temas principales de su campaña, habla sobre el aborto, dice que las mujeres deben decidir sobre su propio cuerpo, dice además que va a dar soluciones con sentido común a todos los desafíos de los estadounidenses. Escuchando a Kamala Harris, pueden ver en su pantalla, en su televisión, en su móvil, pueden ver en pantalla pequeña el meeting de Donald Trump a punto de salir en esta última semana, en estos últimos días de carrera presidencial. Pendientes de Trump, seguimos escuchando a Kamala Harris.
And unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy. He wants to put them in jail. I'll give them a seat at the table. And I pledge to be a president for all Americans and to always put country above party and self. So, North Carolina, it all comes down to this. We are here together because we love our country. That's why we are here. And when you love something, you fight for it. And I do believe it is one of the highest forms of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country and to fight to realize the promise of America. And I have always believed in our nation's yes. And like all of us here, I have always believed in our nation's promise because I have lived it. I grew up as a child of the civil rights movement. My parents would take me to marches when I was in a stroller, where people of every walk of life came together to fight for the ideals of freedom and opportunity. I've lived the promise of America. I saw how hard my mother worked to give her daughters the same chances our country gave her. Growing up, I was blessed to have family by blood and family by love who instilled in me the values that have always defined our nation best. Values like community, compassion, and faith. I've lived the promise.
Pendientes de las palabras de la candidata demócrata Kamala Harris, sigue mandando mensajes a Donald Trump. Dice que ella no piensa que todos aquellos que no estén de acuerdo, todos aquellos que estén en desacuerdo, sean sus enemigos. No es lo mismo que pensaba Biden, que llamaba hace apenas unas horas basura a todos aquellos que apoyan a Donald Trump. Dice además que ella ha vivido el sueño americano, que ha vivido la promesa americana y que quiere que todos hagan lo mismo. Seguimos escuchando las palabras de Kamala Harris.
To accept a future without reproductive freedom. In the men who support them. In Republicans who never voted for a Democrat before but put the Constitution of the United States before party. I see the promise of America in all the young leaders who are voting for the first time. Let me see you. I love you guys, because you are rightly impatient for change. You young leaders, you've only known the climate crisis and are leading the charge to protect our planet and our future. You young leaders who grew up with active shooter drills, who are trying to keep our schools safe. You who have known fewer rights than your mothers and grandmothers and are standing up to fight for freedom, to make your own decisions about your own bodies. None of this for you young leaders is theoretical. This is not theoretical for you. It is not political for you. For our young leaders, this is your lived experience. And I see you, and I see your power. And I am so proud of you. Can we applaud all our first-time voters and young leaders who are here? Let's applaud them. See? Our future is bright. I'm telling you, our future is bright. So, North Carolina, we have 6 days to get this done. And no one can sit on the sidelines. So let's spend the next 6 days so that when we look back at these 6 days, we will know we did everything we could. So right now it's time to go out from here and knock on some doors. Time to text and call some voters. Time to reach out to family and friends and classmates and coworkers and neighbors. And as we do, let us please be intentional about building community. Let us please be intentional about building coalitions. Because through all of that, we strengthen our nation. Because we know and will always remember the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And we are all in this together. So remember, your vote is your voice, and your voice is your power. So North Carolina, I then ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard?
Seguimos escuchando las palabras de Kamala Harris. Sigue, en este caso, de alguna forma agradeciendo a sus votantes, a los asistentes a este mitin en Carolina del Norte. Dice que su futuro es brillante, que tienen más en común de lo que les separa, y dice que su voto es el poder que tienen en estos momentos. De hecho, llamaba a todos aquellos asistentes a hablar con sus amigos, con sus compañeros de colegio. Dice que es el momento, que quedan 6 días y que se pueden arrepentir de lo que no hagan precisamente en estos últimos días antes de que terminen las elecciones en Estados Unidos. Pendientes de Kamala Harris, precisamente en Carolina del Norte se encuentra también Donald Trump, a punto de salir en esta recta final de la campaña estadounidense. Nosotros vamos a mirar a toda la actualidad internacional y geopolítica. Comenzamos las noticias del día de Negocios Televisión. Y lo hacemos hablando de Irán, y es que tras el reciente ataque israelí, funcionarios rusos afirman que la construcción de nuevas bases militares en Irán podría llevar años. Esto sugiere que la dinámica de seguridad en la región puede cambiar e indica que Irán necesitará tiempo para mejorar sus capacidades militares. Los comentarios de Rusia implican que la estrategia militar de Irán podría necesitar una reevaluación, lo que podría aumentar los peligros de conflictos futuros. Precisamente Irán dice que la producción de misiles no se ha visto interrumpida tras los ataques aéreos israelíes contra la República Islámica el 26 de octubre, es lo que apuntaba el ministro de Defensa. El lunes, el ministro israelí, Yoav Gallant, felicitaba a los pilotos israelíes por dañar capacidades de producción de Irán en ataques aéreos destinados a responder al bombardeo de misiles del 1 de octubre de Irán contra Israel. Dice que sus suministros ya están listos y esto afecta sus cálculos, tanto sus capacidades de ataque como de defensa se han visto debilitadas, según Israel. Precisamente les contamos que una enorme explosión se ha escuchado en Hadera, al sur de Haifa. En concreto, al menos 3 drones fueron lanzados desde el Líbano hacia el norte de Israel en la última media hora, uno de los cuales fue interceptado por las defensas aéreas según el ejército. Las fuerzas de defensa israelíes afirman haber recibido informes sobre el impacto de los drones, pero no especifican dónde impactaron ni si causaron algún daño. Dice que el incidente aún continúa el propio ejército israelí. Las sirenas sonaron a lo largo de la llanura costera del norte de Israel, llegando hasta el sur de Hadera. Israel además que atacó el centro espacial Sarut, dirigido por el cuerpo de la Guardia Revolucionaria Islámica de la provincia de Semnan, en Irán, en el ataque del 26 de octubre. Es lo que informa The New York Times en referencia a nuevas imágenes de satélite del operador estadounidense Planet Labs. Según el periódico, en el edificio central de Sarut se fabrican motores de cohetes de combustible sólido. Se utilizan para la producción en masa de misiles balísticos de medio alcance con los que Irán puede atacar a Israel. Precisamente en este contexto les contamos que el ataque israelí contra Irán destruyó todos los sistemas de defensa aérea S-300 de Irán. Es al menos lo que apunta un alto funcionario de Estados Unidos a la cadena Fox. Dice que los aviones de guerra israelíes destruyeron 3 de los sistemas de defensa antimisiles S-300 de fabricación rusa. A principios de año, Irán solo tenía 4 sistemas S-300 SAM. En abril, Israel destruyó uno de estos sistemas en respuesta al primer ataque con misiles balísticos de Irán. Ahora parece que los aviones de combate israelíes F-35 destruyeron los otros 3 el viernes pasado utilizando armas de distancia de seguridad. Les contamos además que el primer ministro israelí Benjamin Netanyahu quiere posponer la boda de su hijo menor Abner, prevista para finales de noviembre. Así lo informa la empresa estatal de radio y televisión Kan. Según ella, esto se debe a amenazas de seguridad, incluido el peligro de ataques con aviones no tripulados. La boda estaba inicialmente prevista para el 26 de noviembre en el jardín de eventos de la Granja Ronit, al norte de Tel Aviv, pero Netanyahu ha abogado ahora por posponer la celebración para no exponer a los invitados a peligros indebidos. Precisamente mirando a Netanyahu, les contamos la amenaza por parte de Hezbollah. En su primer discurso, el nuevo líder, Naim Qassem, comenta el ataque con aviones no tripulados a la residencia privada de Netanyahu en Cesarea. Dice que el enemigo debe saber que sus bombardeos sobre sus pueblos y ciudades no les harán retroceder. Dice que la resistencia es fuerte y que logró enviar un dron a la habitación de Netanyahu. En este sentido, dice que Netanyahu sobrevivió esta vez, pero quizás su momento aún no ha llegado. Continúa sugiriendo que quizás un israelí lo mate tal vez durante uno de sus discursos. Dice que sus contactos con diplomáticos les confirmaron que Netanyahu tiene mucho miedo porque lo tienen en el punto de mira. Pendientes del Líbano, de Hezbollah, miramos también a Estados Unidos, y es que la administración Biden ha recibido casi 500 informes que alegan que Israel utilizó armas estadounidenses en ataques que mataron a civiles palestinos durante la guerra en curso en Gaza, es lo que informa The Washington Post. Los informes provienen de varias agencias del gobierno estadounidense, organizaciones de ayuda, organizaciones sin fines de lucro, informes de los medios de comunicación y otros testigos presenciales. Si bien las directrices del Departamento de Estado instruyen a los funcionarios estadounidenses a completar las investigaciones y recomendar una respuesta a 3 afirmaciones en un plazo de 2 meses, ningún caso ha llegado tan lejos en el proceso. Algunos de los casos probablemente constituyan violaciones del derecho estadounidense e internacional, según informaban a The Washington Post fuentes familiarizadas con el asunto. También miramos a palabras del
in line with the Charter, in line with international law, and in line with the General Assembly resolutions. That is why we have been asking for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza with the release of all hostages and a massive humanitarian aid to Gaza. That is why we have been asking for peace in Lebanon and a peace that respects Lebanese sovereignty and Lebanese territorial integrity and paves the way for a political solution. That is why we have been asking for peace in Sudan, where...
Mirando a Gaza, les contamos que en las primeras 3 semanas de octubre llegaron niveles récord de ayuda humanitaria a la Franja de Gaza, niveles negativos a pesar de los llamamientos de Estados Unidos para que Israel no interfiera con su transferencia al enclave. Es lo que apuntaba Financial Times después de analizar las estadísticas de la ONU. Como señala la publicación, los datos de la ONU muestran una disminución en el volumen de ayuda que ingresa al enclave. Del 1 al 22 de octubre llegaron solo 704 camiones de ayuda humanitaria. Les contamos además que Corea del Norte ha completado los preparativos para una prueba nuclear en su sitio de pruebas nucleares de Punggye-ri para una posible prueba en noviembre. Es lo que apuntan este miércoles legisladores surcoreanos después de ser informados por el Ministerio de Defensa del país. Pyongyang también podría lanzar un misil balístico intercontinental en noviembre, según apuntaban los legisladores, citando información de inteligencia del Ministerio. El Ministerio de Defensa cree que se va a realizar una prueba nuclear en el sitio de pruebas nucleares y que el líder norcoreano Kim Jong-un decidirá el momento en función de varios aspectos, incluidas las elecciones presidenciales de Estados Unidos el próximo martes. El sitio de Punggye-ri es donde Corea del Norte ha llevado a cabo sus 6 pruebas de armas nucleares hasta la fecha desde 2006, incluida la más poderosa en septiembre de 2017. También miramos a China. Les contamos que Wang Yi, el ministro de Exteriores, y el viceministro de Relaciones Exteriores ruso, Andrei Rudenko, discutieron la crisis de Ucrania en conversaciones este miércoles. Wang reafirmó los fuertes lazos de Pekín con Moscú. Además, dice que ambos intercambiaron puntos de vista sobre la crisis, pero el comunicado del ministerio no reveló detalles de la discusión. Wang reiteró las fuertes relaciones entre China y Rusia, que no se vieron afectadas por cambios en la situación internacional. El Ministerio de Comercio chino ha dicho que no acepta los aranceles impuestos por la Unión Europea a los vehículos eléctricos después de que el bloque aumentara los aranceles a los vehículos eléctricos chinos hasta el 45,3% este miércoles. Los aranceles adicionales oscilarán entre el 7,8% para Tesla hasta el 35,3% para SAIC Motor. Miramos también de China, en este caso pasamos a hablar de otras cuestiones. En concreto, hablamos de las elecciones en Estados Unidos con Kamala Harris, que advertía ante decenas de miles de personas sobre los planes de Donald Trump. Dice que busca un poder sin control. La escuchamos.
So look, in less than 90 days, either Donald Trump or I will be in the Oval Office. Okay?
Pendientes precisamente de las palabras por parte de Donald Trump. Se habla de planes para llevar a cabo una deportación masiva. Dice además que quiere presionar a la policía en este sentido. Precisamente dice que algunos funcionarios europeos, esto es lo que informa Político, quieren que el candidato republicano a la presidencia de Estados Unidos, es decir, Donald Trump, gane las elecciones programadas para el 5 de noviembre. Consideran que su victoria puede impulsar el desarrollo de la Unión Europea y fortalecer su independencia. Varios diplomáticos y funcionarios europeos opinan que un segundo mandato de Trump sería la medicina amarga que una Unión Europea conflictiva necesita para superar sus discrepancias y avanzar como bloque. Dice que el regreso de Trump sería un shock beneficioso que permitiría a la Unión Europea seguir adelante, como la pandemia o la crisis energética tras la guerra de Ucrania. Además, creen que una presidencia de Trump sería tan hostil hacia la Unión Europea que el bloque no tendría otra opción que seguir una política más independiente, aumentar su gasto en defensa, reforzar su sector tecnológico y aclarar su política respecto a China. También ayudaría a persuadir a estados indecisos que no quieren cambios radicales en la Unión Europea a actuar de una vez. En este contexto, las fuentes indican que el plan de Trump de poner fin al conflicto ucraniano en un día podría tener un efecto de choque, empujando a los países miembros del bloque europeo hacia el acuerdo sobre la financiación de la defensa y la ayuda para Kiev. Pendientes también de las palabras de un Joe Biden que calificaba de basura a todos aquellos que apoyan a Donald Trump. Hay respuesta ya por parte del candidato republicano que, por cierto, habla en estos momentos, pendientes de las palabras de Donald Trump desde Carolina del Norte. Lo escuchamos.
Well, thank you very much, North Carolina. You are a special group of people. In fact, my beautiful little grandchild, the most beautiful little girl you've ever seen, is named Carolina. You know that? I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. But I'd like to ask you one very simple, easy to answer question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I think so. I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans with your vote in this election. Oh, it's coming up so nice. We're down to 6 days, maybe sort of 5. Maybe 5 the way you count it. 6 days, can you imagine? I will end inflation. I will stop the massive invasion of criminals into our country. And I will bring back a thing called the American dream. Isn't that nice? Because we haven't had that. We haven't had that in a long time. Our country will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. And this election is a choice between whether we'll have 4 more years, think of this, 4 more years of gross incompetence, the most corrupt, horrible people. These are horrible people. Oops, we should get along with everybody. They're horrible people. You know, some people you just can't get along with. You can't. But whether we're going to have 4 years of incompetence and failure, or whether we'll begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country, that's what's going to happen. And I'm asking you to be excited about the future again. You have to be excited about it. We have a great potential. If we have to go another 2 days beyond that term, we're not going to have a great. We have to get this done now because we're not going to have a second chance. There'll never be a second.
Donald Trump, el candidato republicano, dice que no habrá una segunda oportunidad. Preguntaba a los asistentes a este meeting si está mejor que hace 4 años y dice que él confía, que piensa que tienen un futuro brillante, que tienen una gran oportunidad. Antes sí, seguimos escuchando a Donald Trump.
We'll be a nation of incline as opposed to decline. But I'm asking you to dream big again. You're going to have to dream big again. It's going to be hard for you to do that because you've gone through a long period, but we had some great 4 years. This will be America's new golden age. This will be better than what we had even 4 years ago. Remember, we were energy independent. We had everything. Every problem facing us can be solved, but now the fate of our nation is in your hands. And this is a very important state. Number 1, I love the state. Number 2, we've always won. I won the primaries and I won the elections, and I didn't have to worry about it. So, you know, if you think 2016, we did great. 2020, we did much better, actually. You know, they say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. We only got about, 12 million more votes, right? But this is the best of all. This is more enthusiasm than there was for even 2016 or 2020. This is the best. Nobody's ever seen it. I just saw General Kellogg, wherever he may be backstage. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Look at that general. He's a real general, not like Millie. Not like Millie. Not like Kelly, low. He's a low IQ guy. But this is a real general. He's great. But he said backstage, just reminds me, sir, of 2016. I said, thank you very much. That's a good reminder, isn't it? He's a great guy. This Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala that you've had enough, that you're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, Kamala. Get the hell out of here. The worst vice president, the worst border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border in the history of the world that allowed criminals to pour through. 21 million people, think of it. Well, we're running a campaign of solutions to save America, an America which they have virtually destroyed during their almost 4-year period of rule. Kamala Harris, a low IQ individual, is running a campaign of hate, anger, and retribution. See, I'm very nice to them. They're not nice to me. She spends all of her time complaining about everything, but there's nothing about it. She's going to do this, she's going to do that. Why the hell didn't she do it, right? So now she's talking about what she's going to do on the border. Well, I'm going to do this and that and this and that. All they had to do was leave the border alone. We had the safest border in the history of our country. In fact, to prove it, put up my chart, that favorite chart. I love that chart. I love that chart. That was the day I left office. We had the lowest number ever. The day I left office was where the red arrow is on the bottom. And then it became like...
Seguimos pendientes de Donald Trump mostrando diapositivas, como ven, sobre su paso por la Casa Blanca, sobre lo segura que era la frontera. Dice que la peor etapa de la historia ha sido con Kamala Harris al frente. Dice que ha sido la peor vicepresidenta de la historia de Estados Unidos. Precisamente, por cierto, hablando de Estados Unidos, en estos momentos el secretario de Defensa estadounidense, Lloyd Austin, está junto a la inteligencia surcoreana, pendientes, por cierto, de las tropas norcoreanas que ya estarían en Rusia, o también un posible ataque nuclear, de que le hablábamos hace apenas unos minutos. Pueden seguir esta comparecencia en nuestro señal, en nuestro canal en paralelo. Nosotros seguimos escuchando a Donald Trump.
You know why? They went from that to say, sir, we would be delighted to do whatever you'd like, whatever you... Now I said, we're going to put 100% tariff on your cars if you don't do it. So they said, we'd love to have our people we would love to have MS-13 gang members, criminals, people from mental institutions stay in our country. It would be our great honor, sir. It was really amazing. It took less than a minute. But or what she's going to do about inflation. I'm going to do things about, she caused the inflation by screwing up my energy policies. She caused the inflation and spending way too much money on the Green New scam. She caused it. But why didn't she do something about it, right? Or what she's going to do to get the economy going. We're going to do this and that. Oh, by the way, her plans are the plans of a simpleton. They're not going to work. We'll be in a depression like 1929. What we're going to do to get the economy, but why didn't she do it? Why didn't she do all these things? She's saying, we're going to do this. She's trying to disassociate herself from Sleepy Joe Biden. I like this audience. I didn't say it. Well, the guy said, who just said that? Who's this? He can handle himself. They scream, she's an idiot. But I didn't say it. I didn't say it. In fact, I'd like to admonish you, sir, you should not say that, please. This way, the press can't get me. You know, they say, well, I know he won. It's really good. Well, no, I don't accept that. I would never accept a thing like that. No, but she is, he can handle himself, that guy too. She and Crooked Joe head up the worst administration in the history of our country. They've made Jimmy Carter look like a truly great president. In all fairness to Jimmy, he didn't let 21 million people, many of them criminals and those that are mentally ill, pour into our country. He didn't let that. Jimmy Carter didn't allow that to happen.
Seguimos escuchando a Donald Trump, sigue cargando contra la actual administración, contra Biden, contra Harris. Dice que ha sido la peor administración de la historia. Sigue hablando de los inmigrantes que han entrado a su país y dice además que lo mejor está por venir. Dice Trump que bajo su mandato Estados Unidos será más grande, mejor, más audaz, más rico, más seguro y más fuerte que nunca, al menos durante 4 años en la historia de su país. El candidato republicano Donald Trump dice que la era dorada de Estados Unidos está por llegar. Le seguimos escuchando.
Because she and Joe have no achievements, only failure and gloom. See, that was so perfect. It worked out perfectly. I said, how am I going to say? Normally you'd stop and you'd say, please take a look at the video. But I have some very talented people. I say, when I say Donald Trump, you just let that go. They did a good job. And then I finish the sentence because they have no achievements, because they're a disaster. She suffers from a very serious disease known as Trump derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome. TDS, sometimes referred to as TDS, it's quite serious. It's inflicted havoc on some lives. But many Democrats suffer from that disease, and it's only because of one reason, because we're winning. This week, Kamala has been comparing her political opponents to the most evil mass murderers in history. And now, speaking on a call for her campaign last night, Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. And they mean it, even though without question, my supporters are far higher quality than Crooked Joe or Lying Kamala. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans. You just can't. And you can't be president if you hate the American people. And there's a lot of hatred there. Kamala Harris is not fit to be president of the United States. She doesn't have the intellect, the stamina, or that special quality that real leaders must have to lead. We know what that is. It's a special quality. Joe Biden's comments were the direct result of Kamala's and Tim Walz, you know? You know who that is? His decision to portray everyone who isn't voting for them as evil or subhuman. You're not subhuman. I'm looking at you. You are not subhuman. And we know it's what they believe because look how they've treated you. They've treated you like garbage, frankly. They've treated you like garbage.
Pendientes de las palabras de Donald Trump, ha respondido a los calificativos de Joe Biden, que llamaba basura a todos los seguidores del candidato republicano. Dice que por fin tanto Biden como Kamala han dicho lo que piensan. Dice que una persona que no ama a América, que odia a los americanos, no puede dirigir la Casa Blanca, no puede estar en la Casa Blanca. Precisamente hablando de Estados Unidos, miramos a palabras de Lloyd Austin, el secretario de Defensa estadounidense. Ha enfatizado este miércoles que un posible ataque nuclear de Corea del Norte contra Washington o cualquiera de sus aliados resultará en el fin del régimen del líder supremo Kim Jong-un. Después de la reunión con el ministro de Defensa surcoreano, ambas partes han acordado incorporar un escenario de ataque nuclear norcoreano en futuros ejercicios militares conjuntos entre Washington y Seúl. Los jefes de defensa también condenaron la cooperación militar de Corea del Norte con Rusia en los términos más enérgicos, incluido su reciente despliegue de tropas en regiones cercanas a su frontera con Ucrania. Estados Unidos amenazando a Corea del Norte, dice que acabaría con el régimen de Kim Jong-un en el caso de que tenga lugar un ataque nuclear, después de que, como les contamos hace apenas unos minutos, ya se dé por hecho que la semana que viene va a haber nuevas pruebas nucleares por parte de Corea del Norte. Seguimos mirando a Estados Unidos, precisamente uno de los amigos de Kim Jong-un. Escuchamos a Donald Trump.
It's not immigration, it's horrible. It's horrible. And I think that it's, frankly, should be number one on the list. I think inflation's terrible. What they've done with inflation is gross incompetence. But when they allow 21 million people, and it's probably much more, that doesn't even include the gotaways, you know, gotaways. These are people that just run across the border. What they've done to our country is never, there's never going to be an excuse for what they've done to this country. For the past 9 years, Kamala and her party have called us racists, bigots, fascists, deplorables, irredeemables, Nazis, and they've called me Hitler. Called me Hitler. You know, many years ago, I had a father who was a great guy. He was a strong guy, a legitimate guy, strong. But, you know, he always used to tell me, never use the word Nazi and never use the word Hitler. Now we're called Nazis, and I'm called Hitler. I'm not Hitler. Boy, my father, he's looking down. Well, my mother, I know she's looking down. My father is a little questionable because he was a little rough. I think he's looking down because he was a good guy. He was a strong guy, but he was a good guy. But he's looking down. He said, can you imagine? That's what they're calling my son. I told him for years, literally never use the term Nazi or Hitler. Now they're using it on us. It's unbelievable. They've bullied you. They've demeaned us. They've demonized us and censored us and deplatformed us and weaponized the power of our own government against us. They've gone after their political opponent, me. It's unbelievable. Did you see? Donald Trump wants to put us in jail. Donald Trump is going to go after some of the scum that you see back there, that's so dishonest. Donald Trump is doing horrible things. He wants to put us in prison. That's what they've been trying to do to me for 3 years. They got the story mixed up. And we won the big case in Florida already. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Remember? Oh, we got him in Florida.
Seguimos escuchando a Donald Trump, en este caso contestando a Kamala Harris, que como saben hace apenas unos días le comparó con un nazi, le comparó con Hitler. Decía Trump que su padre ya le dijo cuando era joven que nunca se deben utilizar estos términos. Dice pues, que la campaña de Harris está utilizando todo tipo de términos, como por ejemplo que dice que les va a meter en la cárcel, y dice que es precisamente lo que llevan haciendo con el propio Trump en los últimos 3 años. Siguen las declaraciones cruzadas, sigue la tensión entre Harris y Donald Trump. Seguimos escuchando al candidato republicano.
Because he's mentally incompetent, but he can be the president of the United States. Figure that one out. Mr. Congressman, figure that one out, Hudson. Can you imagine? They have taken your money. They've thrown open your borders to criminals and terrorists. They've flooded your towns with deadly drugs and death. They've given you jobs to illegal migrants and sent our blood and treasure to fight really stupid foreign wars, countries that you've never heard of, countries that you and your children have never even heard of. This Tuesday is your chance to stand up and declare that you are not going to take it anymore. You're not going to take it. 6 days from now, we can turn the page forever on this failed and corrupt administration. They are corrupt. They're failed and they're corrupt. They're the worst administration. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of our country. And his partner, now she's trying to convince everyone, oh, well, I really had nothing to do with anything, you know. I'm sure he loves hearing that. She is the worst vice president in the history of our country. By the way, if you go back a few months, everybody was saying she's the worst vice president. She's incompetent. She's a dope. She's everything you can imagine. All of a sudden, they decided they better get politically correct, okay? And they chose her over 12 people that are far more competent. We can declare once and for all that we are done with their hate.
Pendientes de las palabras del candidato republicano Donald Trump, sigue con sus ataques contra Biden, contra Harris, dicen que son los peores presidente y vicepresidente de la historia de Estados Unidos. Nosotros precisamente seguimos mirando últimas horas, en este caso, que conciernen a Donald Trump, y es que su campaña está aprovechando nuevamente los comentarios del presidente Joe Biden, donde se refirió a los partidarios de Trump como basura. El texto de recaudación de fondos critica específicamente el silencio de la vicepresidenta Kamala Harris sobre este tema. Una Harris que abordó el comentario de Biden el miércoles y dijo a los periodistas que está totalmente en desacuerdo con criticar a las personas en función de por quién votan. La campaña completa para recaudar fondos afirma que la administración Biden-Harris les mira con desprecio. Agrega que el 5 de noviembre van a aprender cuán poderosos realmente son. También miramos a Europa. La presidenta de la Comisión Europea, Ursula von der Leyen, alerta este miércoles de que el gasto de Rusia en defensa está en proceso de superar el de los países de la Unión Europea en su conjunto, a quienes pidió intensificar los esfuerzos en este ámbito. Dice von der Leyen que la guerra de Putin contra Ucrania es la mayor amenaza a nuestra seguridad. Dice que este año el gasto en defensa de Rusia está en proceso de superar las cantidades colectivas de todos los Estados miembros europeos combinados. En este sentido, von der Leyen, que va a repetir el cargo durante los próximos 5 años, ha pedido a los 27 que intensifiquen los esfuerzos, sabiendo que prepararse para lo peor puede ayudar a prevenir que ocurra. Precisamente mirando a Estados Unidos, les contamos que el Departamento de Tesoro ha impuesto este miércoles nuevas sanciones contra individuos y entidades vinculadas a Rusia, sospechosas de proporcionar apoyo militar a Moscú e habilitar su maquinaria de guerra. Las nuevas restricciones apuntan a actores individuales y a extensas redes de evasión de sanciones que abarcan 17 jurisdicciones, entre ellas China, India, Suiza, Tailandia y Turquía. Dice en un comunicado que Estados Unidos y sus aliados siguen tomando medidas decisivas en todo el mundo para detener el flujo de herramientas y tecnologías críticas que Rusia necesita para librar su guerra ilegal e inmoral contra Ucrania. Varias empresas con sede en China también han sido sancionadas por supuestamente exportar productos de doble uso que cubren brechas críticas en la base militar industrial de Rusia. Mirando a Rusia, les contamos que la embajadora de Finlandia en Moscú ha sido convocada este miércoles al Ministerio de Asuntos Exteriores ruso, donde le presentaron una enérgica protesta contra la actuación del servicio de alguaciles finlandés, que embargó decenas de propiedades inmobiliarias pertenecientes a Rusia. La parte rusa exigió a Finlandia que revisara lo antes posible esta decisión ilegítima que viola flagrantemente las disposiciones de la Convención de Viena sobre relaciones diplomáticas de 1961. Subraya que, de lo contrario, la responsabilidad de las consecuencias de tales acciones recaerían en Helsinki y que, en caso necesario, la parte rusa tomará medidas de represalia. Mirando a Rusia, les contamos una multa sin precedentes contra Google. Un tribunal ruso ha multado a Google con 2 decillones de dólares por supuestamente bloquear medios rusos en YouTube. La multa, que sigue creciendo diariamente, fue impuesta a la empresa por haberse negado a desbloquear los canales de YouTube de varios medios de comunicación rusos. El monto de la multa total que Google tiene que pagar a 17 canales de televisión rusos por haber bloqueado sus cuentas en YouTube asciende a 2 sextillones de rublos, o sea, una cifra con 36 ceros. Es lo que informa este martes RBC con referencia a una fuente familiarizada con el proceso judicial. Se trata de cerca de 20.000 quintillones de dólares, una suma que sigue aumentando constantemente, ya que se trata de una multa progresiva. La sanción fue impuesta a la compañía por negarse a cumplir una decisión judicial anterior que ordenó desbloquear en YouTube una serie de los canales asociados con medios de comunicación rusos financiados por el Estado o pagar una multa en caso de incumplimiento. Google tenía que ejecutar dicha decisión judicial en un periodo de 9 meses. Al acabar este plazo, la compañía le impuso una multa por incumplimiento de 100.000 rublos diarios. Con ello, el montante se duplica cada semana hasta que se cumpla el dictamen. También miramos a Zelensky, que acusa a sus socios y medios occidentales de revelar información confidencial después de que haya trascendido un anexo secreto de su plan de victoria en el que pedía a sus aliados misiles Tomahawk de largo alcance. Es lo que afirma en una conferencia de prensa durante la 4ª cumbre Ucrania-Norte de Europa celebrada esta semana en Islandia. Decía Zelensky: ¿ves lo que está sucediendo? Ahora en los medios dijeron que Ucrania quiere obtener muchos misiles como los Tomahawk. Dice Zelensky que se trata de información confidencial entre Ucrania y la Casa Blanca. Añade que esto significa que no hay nada confidencial entre los socios. Precisamente Zelensky dice que Occidente debería admitir que Rusia ha ganado en Georgia y que está en camino de hacer lo mismo en Moldavia, a menos que abandone la retórica occidental contra el cruce de las líneas rojas de Moscú. Las elecciones parlamentarias celebradas el sábado en Georgia se vieron empañadas por informes de violaciones electorales. La oposición impugnó el resultado y los aliados occidentales dijeron que las irregularidades deben investigarse. Decía Zelensky: tenemos que reconocer que hoy Rusia ha ganado en Georgia. Primero se apoderó de Georgia, luego cambió la política, el gobierno, y ahora tiene un gobierno prorruso. Es lo que apuntaba en un vídeo difundido este miércoles. Moldavia celebrará una segunda vuelta de elecciones presidenciales el domingo, después de que el actual presidente pro-europeo no lograra obtener más del 50% de los votos. Y también miramos a los BRICS. Les contamos que India ha superado a Arabia Saudí como el mayor proveedor de combustible refinado de Europa, según los datos de firma de inteligencia comercial global KPLR. Se prevé que las importaciones europeas de petróleo refinado procedente de India superen los 360.000 barriles diarios debido a las nuevas sanciones occidentales contra el petróleo ruso. Arabia Saudí es uno de los principales productores de petróleo del mundo. Su estatus de primera en el comercio del petróleo existe desde hace décadas. Sin embargo, ahora que un actor importante como Rusia está en busca de Europa, el continente necesita una nueva alternativa para obtener suministro de combustible. Reuters fue el primero en informar que Europa importaba 154.000 barriles de petróleo por día de las refinerías indias antes de la guerra entre Rusia y Ucrania. Esas importaciones aumentaron a 200.000 después de que la Unión Europea prohibiera el petróleo ruso. Además, KPLR ha estimado que se espera que las importaciones de petróleo ruso de la India superen los 2 billones de barriles por día el próximo abril, lo que representa el 44% de las importaciones totales de petróleo de la India. Pendientes de los BRICS, una de las cuestiones fundamentales de Donald Trump es luchar contra la desdolarización, hacer que la economía de Estados Unidos vuelva a ser fuerte de nuevo. Seguimos escuchando al candidato republicano.
We've brought together veterans and union members, soldiers and steel workers, farmers and auto workers, and patriotic moms and dads of every race, religion, color, and creed, right? We're welcoming historic numbers of African Americans and Hispanic Americans and Asian Americans and Arab Americans. And we're uniting Christians and Jews and Catholics and evangelicals and Muslims and Mormons and everyone who simply wants one thing. They want one thing: to make America great again. That's all they want. Our campaign has been endorsed by the 400,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police. And I don't believe there's a police organization in America that hasn't endorsed us. And I don't believe there's even a single policeman or policewoman, a cop. That's another thing. My father always used to say, never call them cops. That's disrespectful. I don't know. I think, look, I'm going with my father. So we're going to say policeman or policewoman. Never call them cops. That's disrespectful, son. I don't know. Makes sense? If my father said it, I do it. But think of that. I don't think a single policeman or policewoman has endorsed her. She was a leader of defund the police. That's hard to get an endorsement. Yes, I was in charge of defunding the police for 10 years. I'd love to have your endorsement. But then we had the Border Patrol agents who are so incredible. For 4 years, they haven't called her. She hasn't called. Think of this. 4 years. I said, has she ever called? Has Biden ever called? Sleepy Joe? No. I said, you don't mean no. You mean maybe they haven't called you, but have they called you? We had the top 10 leaders up. They gave me the best endorsement you've ever heard. And the worst statement about her, they said she's grossly incompetent. And then she's supposed to be running. I don't believe, they say it's like a close race. I can't believe it's a close race. Not that I just can't believe it. But I said, did she ever call you? No, sir. Never once. I said, you mean in almost 4 years? No, she never called, sir. Never once. Nobody. She never called anybody. She was in charge of the border, whether you call her borders or she doesn't want that name anymore because it was so bad. She did such a bad job. But she was in charge of the border. Think of this. And she never called Border Patrol one time in 4 years. By the rank and file membership of the Teamsters who endorsed us, I will tell you the Teamsters, we got 62% or something. And I got the endorsement. Oh, what a beautiful endorsement, because I love brilliant people. We don't have too many of them. We have to protect our brilliant people. There aren't too many of them. There aren't too many of them, period. But a certain guy that took a rocket that's 22 stories tall and came back down, and those thrusters went off, and I said, oh no, it's going to crash into the gantry, it's going to crash, it's going to be terrible. But it didn't. It came down, and it was just about ready, and then the fire blew out of the bottom on the left side, and it moved it over, and then it came here, and it came down, and those two big arms grabbed it, like you grab your baby. Like you grab your baby, right? Elon Musk gave us a great endorsement. And you know, oh, I just spotted somebody. I didn't know he was going to be there. Is that who I think it is? My eyes are what they stand up, please, would you? Huh? Yes. How are you? Huh? And look at these two. Look at these two. These two ladies have been with us, and this guy has been by their side right from the beginning. In fact, they take the place oftentimes of some of our front row Joes. So very successful people. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. But Elon gave us an endorsement that was beautiful. He said, it's the most important election we've ever had. If Trump doesn't win, and he doesn't, you know, he wants to just, he's a very straight shooter. If Trump doesn't win, he said, we don't have a country anymore. We're not going to have a country. And that was amazing, actually. And you know where he is right now? He's campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. Can you imagine? And, you know, he told me something very interesting. He said, you know, for an election to be really on the up and up, you have to use paper ballots. He said that to me. Now, here's a guy who I would say is the all-time genius at computers. You know, he was telling me that when you see those rockets firing, he said the computers are more important than the engines. I understand. He knows more about computers than anybody I've ever met, and I know some pretty smart people. I had an uncle that was at MIT, a professor for 41 years, the longest serving professor ever. I have that, it's something in my blood about that. Elon knows more about computers than anybody there is. Every time you see those rocket ships land, like in the ocean on a raft with a circle, boom, it's like unbelievable, right? And he said, for purposes of voting, because there's never a computer that's not easily cracked, easily if you're a genius, more difficult if you're less than a genius. But he said the best way to have an election is very simple. Paper ballots, voter ID, proof of citizenship, same-day voting. And he said same-day voting. And there's a guy who's the number one computer guy. You would think, you know, it's interesting. Paper ballots would cost 8% of what you have. Now I'm hearing all sorts of stories. We're not going to have the result by Tuesday night. We spend all this money on computers. If you go back to paper ballots, and it's watermarked. You know, paper is now very sophisticated, believe it or not. It's all watermarked. You can't play around with it. They can check it immediately. It's all, like, identified. But paper ballots, so think of it. 8%. It would cost 8% of what the machines cost. Now, they hate when I talk about this, but I just want to see one thing. I don't care whether it's machines or whatever's going to be the best, but if paper's the best, paper, one-day voting. You know why? Because we don't want the air conditioning to be fixed. Oh, excuse me, you'll have to move those ballots in that room. We're going to fix the air conditioning. Oh, where are we going to move them? Well, let's move them out of the place for a little while. We'll move them back next week. Oh, where are they? There were 14 boxes. Now there's 6. What happened to the rest of them? You know, no. One-day voting. You have one-day voting. We used to have one-day voting. By the way, France went back to paper. France had 39 million people. They had voter ID. They had proof of citizenship. That's all. They didn't have mail-in. You know, mail it. How about California? They mail out about 38 million ballots. 38. It's like you're throwing them off a building. 38 million, and then they get sent back somewhere. Nobody knows where. And then they always announce that the Republicans are about 5 million short, without fail. Because I believe that if we had an honest election, if God came down from on high, and God said, I will be the voting tabulator for the day, I believe I would win California because I do great with the Hispanics. I believe I'd win. We need God as our vote counter. Just one day every 4 years. We won't even go after the two. We won't even talk about for the Congress people that we have sitting all over the place, just for the presidential elections. If we had God, oh boy, would it be a lot easier and a lot better. The other thing we need is we need an honest and respected press. We don't have that. So I want to thank Elon Musk, and I just thought I'd give you his words of wisdom, but that's what he said. He said paper ballots are the way to go, and it's the only way to go. And you're talking about a fraction of the cost. And you would have the election determined, solidly determined by 9 o'clock or 10, whatever time you want. They put them in boxes, they seal the boxes, they hand the boxes. Every box has so many. I mean, you would have an accurate count by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, whichever hour you chose. And they had that in France. It ended at 10 o'clock. The vote was broadcast. Nobody said, oh, I won or I didn't. It was, everyone went home. They had a winner and they had a loser. Everybody went home. It's a shame. And we're talking about for a fraction. If you said it costs 10 times more, you should do it. But it costs only about 8% of what they spend for machines that send these results to who knows where. Very, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. You know, last time we got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. But we lost, they say. They say we lost. We're also endorsed by somebody that loves healthy people. He wants to make our country so healthy. And he's a great guy. Now, he wants to make our country. He also has a big thing on the environment. And I'll tell you what, I say, that's okay, but you can't touch our liquid gold, Robert. Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
Continúa el acto de campaña que está protagonizando Donald Trump desde Rocky Point, en Carolina del Norte. Dice que el Partido Republicano en las próximas elecciones va a ser el más votado de la historia del país, que su candidatura va a ser la más votada. También, dice Donald Trump, estaba explicando el funcionamiento del sistema de voto, que se cierra en cada estado a una hora diferente. Está explicando cómo funciona y está insistiendo en que la gente que le vota a él es gente honesta y es gente que persigue la verdad.
Well, listen, we'll watch that. We're going to be very careful with our liquid gold. That's one of the biggest assets we have as a country. We have more liquid gold than anybody, including Saudi Arabia, Russia. Tulsi Gabbard came in, highly respected, a woman of great common sense. And they just gave me the name because I've had great respect, but I didn't know exactly why they had him on. Buzz Aldrin, very respected, the great astronaut, and highly respected. But I thought it was an unusual because we have a lot of people that endorse us. And and you notice the Washington Post and Los Angeles Times and all these papers, they're not endorsing anybody. You know what they're really saying? Because they only endorse Democrats. They're saying, this Democrat's no good. They're no good. And they think I'm doing a great job. They just don't want to say it. Washington and USA Today, congratulations. I just heard USA Today has not endorsed. They said we're not going to endorse. That means that they think she's no good. But Buzz Aldrin's very interesting because great astronaut, but he's not the youngest person in this room, but he's very sound man and great, looks fantastic. What he did is he said, I've never endorsed anybody in my life before, like General Kellogg. I've never endorsed, of course, he started endorsing me approximately about a minute after I announced I was running, but that's because he's a smart general, right? 1 minute. Was it 1 minute or was it 30 seconds? But Buzz Aldrin, for the first time in his life, he said, this is the first time I've ever made an endorsement, never made an endorsement. I'm endorsing Donald J. Trump. Isn't that nice? So thank you, Buzz Aldrin. And I like him too. I've always admired him. Kamala and Joe call them all of those people that I just named and all of the people here. And I think probably more than 200 million people in this country. You know, we really don't know how many we have because those borders have been opened so badly. You don't know. You know, other countries can tell you approximately what they have. I don't think this country does. But let's say you had 350 million people. If she won, you'd have 600 million people in about 3 years. You'd have open borders, the whole world, every criminal from all over the world. Well, we're going to have that pretty soon anyway, but we're going to deport them out of here fast. But let's say 225 million people. She's essentially, and he's calling them garbage. They're a team, by the way. Oh, she hated that last night when she heard that. Although, honestly, I don't think she's smart enough to know what it really means. What that meant, that makes deplorable look like baby stuff, right? Deplorable with her. Remember Hillary? She said, deplorable and irredeemable. And I said, oh, what a terrible term to use the word irredeemable. I didn't know that somehow irredeemable. I think it's worse, right? But you know what's worse than anything? Garbage. We're garbage. We're garbage. And I call you the heart and soul of America. You're the people that built America.
Defiende Donald Trump unas fronteras fuertes, dice el candidato republicano a la Casa Blanca, el expresidente de los Estados Unidos, que Kamala Harris y Joe Biden han abierto las fronteras a miles de personas que han venido a Estados Unidos a cometer crímenes, a millones de criminales.
Win a place, I love you. I love Alabama. In Alabama, I win by 48 points. Even you haven't caught us on that. Tennessee, we have so many great states that really love us. But you know, the nice thing is when you have a place that you can just rely on, where you can really rely. I love you too. Look at her. She's so beautiful. Oh, she's all excited. I love it. I do. And there's Mr. Wall. See that jacket? He's a genius. He's one of the smart people. He makes a lot of money as a professional, but he likes these rallies. I think it's like 279 rallies. Can you believe it? He likes Trump. He likes Trump, and I like him. I feel comfortable because it's a wall. We always needed a wall. And one day I'm going to find out where you bought that suit, and I'm going to wear it to one last, because, you know, it's sad. We've done this for 9 years. We had the greatest rallies in the history of the world. Chancellors and prime ministers, people would tell me they watch the rallies from Europe. Everybody watches our rallies. Everybody loves our rallies. We never have an empty seat. They try and demean us like that horrible, horrible person that we're. And people leave early. Nobody leaves early. If I saw them leaving early, you know what I would say? And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And make America great again and not leave. Right? That way they could, but I've never had to do that. I'm very capable of doing that, you know. But nobody shoots an empty seat, and nobody leaves early. And they said, and the fake news people, like Brit Hume, the fake news people said, oh, he fell into a trap. She's got no trap. She's got no, this is not a trap. When somebody says something, you have, and it's wrong, he fell into a trap. The real trap was you had David Muir during the debate. I had the Biden debate, and that didn't work out too well for him. And then we had the other one, and I think I did better the second one with her. You know, she talked about the grass. What are you going to do about the economy? Well, I grew up in an area where I had a grass yard. Saying, I actually think in a certain way Biden was better than her, okay? But you know, you had David Muir, and I said, crime is soaring all over our nation. The migrants are pouring in. And he said, and he stops me, crime is not soaring. Crime is going down, because he believed the FBI.
Está Donald Trump recordando los principales momentos de los dos debates que protagonizó primero con Joe Biden cuando todavía era candidato a la Casa Blanca y luego ese segundo debate ya con Kamala Harris. Decía que cuando le preguntaban por asuntos económicos no tenía nada que contestar y que también cuando se hablaba acerca de inmigración y acerca de la llegada de criminales a la frontera decía que no había ningún tipo de problema, asuntos que Donald Trump pone en cuestión.
I think I'd be FBI. I think I'd be at 97, 98%. I really believe it. You know, I think I'd be. But they have some people that just don't want to do it. Don't want to do their job properly. It's a shame. We have a lot of things we're going to correct in this country. We have to correct them because we need honesty. We just need some basic truth. But David Muir, so this guy David Muir, you know, pretty boy, he goes, that's stuff. I don't think he's that good looking anymore. Time does that. Time does that. No, but that's terrible. He interrupted me like, what, 11 times or something, right? Every time I said something, that's not so. And then he had a woman who I never heard of. Don't know her name, don't want to know her name. She's not very good at what she does either. But when he didn't interrupt me, she did. And if you look, I was right about just about Mr. Congressman. I think just about everything. I was right about just about everything. He said, Trump was right about everything. How about the hat? Trump was right about everything. Trump was right about everything. But we've said, now, but think of it. So that must have been the first one. I followed that storm right in. But I saw the devastation. I actually came back the following week because I didn't want to get in anyone's way. It was a travesty. It was vicious. It was water. The water was the worst we'd ever seen. It was a water hurricane. That's what it was. And it took houses right off the foundations and ripped the foundations, concrete foundations, like they were paper. And I saw areas that were just like gone. And yet you've set an all-time record in early voting. Think of it, the deadline you have set up till the date. Now, here are people, I'm talking about most of you who come from this area. Some people are coming from outside of North Carolina, but in North Carolina, these are people that have been devastated. They've lost their homes. At a minimum, especially in certain areas, they broke records in every single area. And some of the people, they didn't even have a home anymore. They were living in tents. No, but how great, and then they, those lowlifes call you garbage. No, think of that. Think of how bad it is. They have the nerve to say that. Think of the fact, you know, when we were looking...
Decía Donald Trump, refiriéndose a Kamala Harris y a Joe Biden, insistía en que son los peores presidente y vicepresidenta de la historia de Estados Unidos y aseguraba, cuando explicaba ese proceso por el cual Kamala Harris fue finalmente nombrada como candidata demócrata a la Casa Blanca, que el Partido Demócrata tuvo 12 candidatos a los que finalmente descartó y que la eligió a ella, la actual vicepresidenta, por corrección política. Dice que con él en la Casa Blanca finalmente se pondrá fin a la época actual de caos, de histeria que han protagonizado ellos dos, a los que, insiste, son los dos peores presidente y vicepresidenta de la historia del país, por encima, ha insistido, de Jimmy Carter.
They broke the all-time record. Think of it. Think of it. Now, you're superior people, okay? Not garbage. You're superior people. If anybody would have eaten, nobody. I went to one of the big pollsters. I was talking to him right after we got those numbers because the numbers are coming in great. We're doing great in North Carolina. That doesn't mean you don't vote. Now you go on Tuesday and you just vote, right? But you got it. He says, we've got you. But no, but when you think, I said to a pollster, I said, what do you think the chances? And he said, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen as a pollster. And I mean, I guess some people had to come back, and you couldn't even come back because you had areas of land with no river, and now it's all of a sudden landlocked. It's all waterlocked. I just think it's incredible. I think it's a great tribute to North Carolina, and I'd like to thank you very much. Amazing. It's amazing. You are hardy people. You are hardy people, aren't you? Look, she knows what I'm talking about. She knows what I'm talking about. The deadline for in-person early voting in North Carolina is Saturday, but you can do that or you just come. You come whenever you want. You know, I'm one that was saying, a lot of people say vote early. That's great. But the main thing is vote. You got to vote. We got to vote. You got to vote. Republicans tend to vote on Election Day, and they like to make sure, I think, that vote goes into a box, you know, somewhere, and then they want to watch where the box goes to. But you got to just vote. And I think we're going to have this is a very important state. We win this state, we're sailing. We're sailing. We win this state, we're sailing. So if you have a ballot, send it in or get everyone, you know, vote, vote, vote. You're going to vote, and we're going to have record numbers. I think you're going to have, we're heading to record numbers in North Carolina despite one of the worst hurricanes anyone's ever seen. And I will say this about my competition. They did a horrible job of rescue and help. One of the worst. And I don't even believe it was because it was largely a Republican area. I think they did it because they're incompetent, okay? They did a horrible job, one of the worst jobs since Katrina, but some people say it was a worse job. Nobody's even showing up. You don't even see. And then you learn that they've spent almost $1 billion and they don't have any money for North Carolina because, or Georgia, or a lot of the other states, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina. I mean, think of it. Georgia got hit. Georgia got hit so hard. But then you find out, and then you listen, and you find out that they don't have any money. FEMA, because they spent their money. FEMA spent money on bringing illegal aliens into our country. I'll tell you something. First of all, it's going to take a while anyway. They should be there. You know, there's nobody even sees anybody from the federal government. You know who's done a good job? Franklin Graham. He's in here. He's in here. He better do a good job. I gave him $7 million. He better. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. No, we gave him a lot because he does the best. He does a great job, and they have some others that do a great job. But we gave him a lot of money, raised a lot of money for him, and he is always, every time I have, because I've seen a lot of tornadoes and hurricanes and horrible storms, and every time I get there, he's always there with his crew of volunteers. It's pretty amazing, actually. Franklin Graham, he does a great job. Got good genes. He's got very good genes. My father used to take me to Yankee Stadium to watch Billy Graham fill up Yankee Stadium. He filled it up like it was nothing. And my father liked going to see Billy Graham. With your help, 6 days from now, we're going to defeat Kamala Harris, and we're going to win back that beautiful, beautiful White House. We're going to win it back. Kamala Harris cast.
Quedan 6 días para decirle adiós a Kamala Harris y para que los republicanos vuelvan al poder en Estados Unidos. Decía Donald Trump que invitaba a las personas de Carolina del Norte, a los votantes republicanos, a que acudieran a votar lo antes posible. Les decía que era el momento de acudir a las urnas. Por cierto, que ya son 50,5 millones los estadounidenses que ya han votado. Lo han hecho bien depositando su voto en los colegios electorales o bien a través del voto por correo. Seguimos escuchando a Donald Trump.
We'll have it. We're going to have it again. Liquid gold. It was just announced today that economic growth missed expectations again for this quarter. It's always missing. This economy is a disaster, and now Kamala wants to raise the typical family taxes by at least $3,000 a year. If I win, we will rapidly defeat inflation. Oh, we'll have it done. So I'm going to bring your energy down to 1/2 of what it is now. It's going to go in 1 year. We'll have it down 50%. And that'll bring everything else down, and we're going to bring the interest rates down, and we're going to make America affordable again. We will make America affordable. Because We have this huge spike that took place over 3 years, massive spike. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And none of that's come down. Bacon hasn't come down. Apples haven't come down. Lettuce, nothing's come down. People so often, they talk about groceries. They haven't come down. I will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses. And we will have a very special kind of a thing happen. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. None. Thank you. No, if you think our seniors, you know, they have a very fixed income, most of them. You know, I'm a senior too. Somebody would say, oh, he's doing that, he has a conflict.
Donald Trump defendiendo su política de impuestos bajos, defendiendo su política también de fronteras fuertes, en un mensaje en el que ha llamado a los norteamericanos a acudir a las urnas a votar lo antes posible, y en un mensaje en el que ha insistido en que Kamala Harris y Joe Biden representan lo peor para Estados Unidos y han conseguido sumir al país, decía, en el caos en los últimos 4 años.
Parent or loved ones. And I said this almost a week ago, and guess what? Last night, Kamala said the same thing. She copied my no tax on tips, but you know what? She's not going to do it. She only said it a couple of times. She said it without, because she got killed when she said that. But now, last night, I don't know if you noticed, last night she copied she copied the caregiver statement. And let me tell you, these people that take care of their family and other people, these are incredible people, and they're entitled to it. They're entitled to it. They got to get it. Starting on day one, she copied me last night. Of my new administration, I will bring back energy independence. Like we had it. We were energy independent 4 years ago. Now we get our oil from Venezuela. It's called Venezuelan tar. You know, it comes like in tar, and you got to heat the hell out of it. And there's only one plant in the whole world that can do it, and that's located in Houston. So for the environmentalists, go take a look at those chimneys in Houston. It's not a pretty sight. I will bring back energy independence, and we will drill, baby, drill, and we're going to start right from the beginning. And to get back our millions of jobs that have been lost, we will give our companies the lowest taxes, the lowest energy costs, the lowest regulatory burdens, and free access to the best and biggest market on the planet. That's us. But we're not going to have that good market anymore if we don't stop it right now, because we're losing it. But only for those companies that make their product here in the USA and hire American workers for the job. And if these companies don't make their products here, then they will be paying a stiff tariff when they send their products into the United States for the privilege of competing with our workers and our now protected companies. They're gonna pay a stiff price. They're gonna pay a stiff price. So we're gonna protect. We have to protect, because they take our companies, they move them into Mexico, and it's pretty incredible. And you heard that I knocked out the biggest auto plant anywhere in the world. I just knocked it out. I did it without even being president. I told them they were building in Mexico.
Donald Trump hablando de proteccionismo, diciendo que es increíble que se muevan empresas a países como México, como Tailandia o como China. Dice que se va a reducir la carga fiscal a aquellas empresas que se queden en Estados Unidos y contraten a trabajadores norteamericanos. También dice que Estados Unidos va a conseguir tener la energía más baja y que se van a recuperar miles de trabajos de la industria energética, porque va a impulsar la independencia energética para Estados Unidos.
I said, I want to see a plant. He said, you have to go to Mexico. I said, I don't want to go. I want to see one here. He said, we don't really build them here anymore. We build them in other places, but we build a lot. And Mexico is a real threat. Don't kid yourself. What they're doing in Mexico. And so I said, I don't want to go to Mexico. What are they doing over there? They're building some of the biggest plants in the world. One in particular. I said, wow, that's no good. I thought about it. Then I spoke before the Economic Forum in Detroit, very nice group of people. And I said, you guys are losing your shirts, and Detroit is, you know, making a comeback for 40 years. It's time now. We got to bring some companies back here. And I didn't like what I heard, because when they make millions of cars out of something where you literally press a button and it makes cars, when that happens, that's no good for us, because they're going to just flood the market and destroy everything that we have in Michigan and Detroit. And some where you have it, some you do big parts business, very big parts business here. So they're going to destroy you. So I announced that I'm going to put a 100% tariff on that plant. And I saw the man about 2 weeks ago. He was in the audience, the man that builds the plants. And I said, John, could I talk to you for a second? I pull him aside. How's that big plant coming in Mexico? Sir, they've decided not to build. They think you're going to become president and they'll lose their show. They're not building the plant. They're not building it, huh? Look at Emmer likes that. Now, can you imagine that? They're not building the plant. They're not going to build the plant. And that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be real simple. And you know what? If they built the plant in this country, I'm okay with it. They can build it. They don't have any tariff to pay. They have no tariff to pay. It's very simple. And, you know, some of the deals made with these politicians, they were either really stupid or crooked as hell, because this could have been done. And I've done it. You know, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China, hundreds of billions of dollars. They've never paid anything. They never gave one president 10 cents. I took hundreds of billions, and from other countries, and we were just getting started. Anyway, we'll also pass what's known as the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That means if China or any other country charges us 100 or 200% tariff or tax, then we will charge them 100 or 200% tariff or tax in return. It's an eye for an eye. And I will never apologize.
Trump, insistiendo en las políticas proteccionistas, dice que es increíble y que no se puede permitir que cientos de miles de millones de dólares se hayan ido a empresas chinas y a otros países. Insistía también en ese traslado de compañías a México y decía que tiene que evitar, que esa situación se tiene que evitar y que se evitará cuando él llegue a la presidencia de Estados Unidos.
Rescue our economy. I will also restore our borders. Over the past 4 years, you see what's been happening. It's carnage. It's carnage. It's a carnage. Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted on our people. What she's done. She's violated her oath and eradicated our sovereign border and unleashed an army of migrant gangs who are waging a campaign of violence and terror against the citizens of the United States of America. Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions, the most dangerous anywhere in the world and from all around the world. From Venezuela to Congo, the Congo in Africa, they're sending us large numbers of prisoners from the Congo in Africa. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from all over. They're coming from Europe. They're coming from Asia. And a lot are coming from South America, but not all. They're coming from all over the world. They're emptying their prisons into the United States. They're emptying their mental institutions into the United States. They're going to be empty very soon. And you know what's happened to their crime rates in places like Venezuela? Whoa, way down. They've taken their street gangs and they brought them into the United States. And they said, if you ever come back, you will die. We're going to kill you. That's what they tell them. So these are including savage criminals who assault, rape, and murder our women, our girls. What they do to our families is outrageous. And my people told me, please, please don't say you're going to protect women. Women don't want you to say that. I said, really? Why? This is my geniuses. These are the people we pay all this money to give you political advice. I said, why? Women don't want to be protected, sir. I said, really? I don't think so. They want to be attacked by MS-13. Is that what they want? They want MS-13 to go in and knock their door down and do bad things? No, I don't think so. I think women, I'm going to protect the women, I'm going to protect the children, and I'm going to protect the men. I'm going to protect everybody from these animals that have been unleashed into our country and from foreign powers. Look, I mean, is there any woman in the audience, please, that does not seek protection? Please raise your hand. Is there any woman in the audience that wants to be protected? I think so. Okay, let's fire those people, please. They're all fired. They meant well. Anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office, and she has set a record. And today I want you to hear something that's very disturbing. Everybody, I just came out, just was done. Everybody that's heard it, I've seen tough people, very tough men, literally crying, watching it. We just put it out just now. But I want you to hear it directly from a mother whose world has been shattered by the open borders insanity of Kamala Harris. Please.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of
Como estamos escuchando, Donald Trump, en contraposición, ha dicho a la política de apertura de fronteras de Kamala Harris, ha querido centrarse en la protección de la mujer. Voy a proteger a las mujeres, a los niños y a los hombres, ha dicho momentos antes de centrarse luego en la apertura de fronteras por parte de Kamala Harris, dice por parte de los demócratas en este caso, y centrándose luego en esa política migratoria que quiere tener el Partido Republicano. Kamala es la peor vicepresidenta de la historia. Ha empezado así el discurso, este meeting Donald Trump, meeting a la presidencia del gobierno, que va a ser, bueno, como ya saben, el próximo martes la votación a la presidencia del gobierno de Estados Unidos. La era dorada está por llegar, ha dicho Donald Trump, justamente en contraposición a estos años de gobierno demócrata. Volvemos a escuchar este meeting de Donald Trump.
They don't know anything about him. They just let him pour into our country. It's incredible. Now she's sort of stopped it by doing just a little bit because she was getting killed in the polls. And if they ever won, they would open those borders and you would have millions and millions more people come in, and there'd be criminals. If I ran one of the countries that we're talking about, and over the last few months, it was 181 different countries. Most people don't even know there are that many. There are actually more. 181 countries were represented, and they're letting their criminals and their jails and everything into our country. They're destroying our country. They're destroying our country, and we can't take it any longer. We have to change. We have to change immediately. I think it's the biggest problem. I think it's bigger than the economy. I think it's bigger than inflation. Because they're ruining the fabric of our country. You're not going to be able to walk out of your house no matter where you live. If you're in a farm, They're flying people in with the big Boeing jets, the biggest ones, and they're taking hundreds of them in. They're landing in the Midwest and all over the place. They're flying them right over the border. They're sick. The day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. The savages charge with brutalizing and murdering precious Jocelyn are members of the same vicious Venezuelan prison gang, Tren de Aragua, that's taking over apartment complexes and unleashing a violent killing spree all over America. You've read about them in Colorado, Aurora, Colorado. They've taken over complexes. They've taken them away from landlords. They've told people to get out. They've told the people, you pay us the rent from now on. You don't pay it to a landlord. You don't pay it to a property owner. You pay it to us. They've even taken over Times Square. Take a look.
Open borders, deadly consequences.
Border crisis, record high.
Duras declaraciones ahora de Donald Trump contra la política migratoria de los demócratas. Más allá de economía e inflación, están destruyendo nuestro país. Ha dicho Trump que está centrando esta última parte de su discurso, de este meeting, justamente en las políticas migratorias, que él quiere cambiar completamente. Ahora mismo volvemos a escucharle.
2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It'll be Liberation Day. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. I will rescue every city and town that's been invaded and conquered, and we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. And to expedite removals of Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and all of these gangs that are now living happily in our country, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you believe that? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement official. And I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. With their open borders, they're going to destroy your Social Security and Medicare. They're going to destroy our health care.
Será la mayor deportación de la historia, ha dicho Donald Trump, justamente hablando de la ley, invocando esa ley. No es la primera vez que lo hace, de 1798, ley de extranjería, la más fuerte que ha habido en la historia de Estados Unidos y con la que quiere justamente tener la mayor política de deportación de la historia del país. Duras palabras contra los inmigrantes de Donald Trump. Seguimos escuchándole.
To gamble with the lives of millions and millions of people. She would get us into World War III because she is too grossly incompetent to do the job, and then all of your sons and daughters will end up getting draft notices. They'll come, Mommy, Daddy, what does this mean? Son, even daughter, that means that you're going to be drafted to fight in a war against a country that you've never heard of. Congratulations, son, and it may be the last time you ever see them. We're not going to let that happen anymore in this country. Our enemies are laughing at her. If we win, America will be feared and respected again. On issue after issue, Kamala broke it, and I will fix it, and I'll fix it quickly. On top of it all, Kamala says she would not do one thing differently from Joe Biden, which in itself is disqualifying. Take a look.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during
Inmigración ha sido el último tema del que ha hablado Donald Trump, hablando de esa regulación, invocando la ley de 1798 de extranjería. Va a ser la mayor deportación de la historia, ha llegado a decir el candidato republicano, pero no ha sido el único tema del que ha tratado hoy Trump en este meeting. Está hablando, bueno, la era dorada de Estados Unidos está por llegar, ha estado diciendo también, hablando un poco de la guerra comercial contra China, también uno de los que van a ser los puntos más importantes de la campaña de Donald Trump, refiriéndose también al cruce de palabras que está habiendo ahora mismo entre demócratas y republicanos. Ha llegado a decir, es increíble que Harris utilice la palabra nazi. Justamente ahora, por el otro lado, ahora la escucharemos, Kamala Harris está queriendo un poco rebajar este tono que estamos viendo en los últimos días, pero volvemos a escuchar a Trump.
Thank you, Tom. And another great friend is Byron Donalds. He's fantastic. He's fantastic. And you have a congressional candidate that I know is going to win. She's up in the polls. She's doing great. Lori Buckout. She's fantastic. And she's got my complete and total endorsement. And somebody that is a star, well, I'll let you know that on the 6th. Is that okay? But I think he's a star. North Carolina GOP Chair Jason Simmons. Jason, thank you. Great. So I also want to say hello to Keith Kellogg, General Kellogg. He's one of our really great generals. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Been with me right from the beginning, right? From day one. And my son-in-law, Michael. Michael is a fantastic young guy. I have to introduce him. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. I also want to send our prayers to everyone in North Carolina and other states still recovering from the hurricanes. If I win, we will get them and we will support you. You know, on January 20th, it's not too far away anymore. January 20th is when you take office. We'll have people here so much you will say, please, we got too many people. Get them out of here. We have too many people. We had great success with FEMA. And if you know, it would be amazing. It's been acknowledged that the hurricane rescue effort and rebuilding effort is the worst that we've just about ever seen, outside of maybe Katrina, but I think it's worse. There's nobody even here, and the devastation is incredible. And how the hell could you vote for somebody that's in charge of it, right? So I don't think you're going to vote for Kamala. Here are the facts. Kamala is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas herself. She destroyed our economy. She was an original creator of defund the police movement, and anybody who wants to defund the police for even 1 week or 1 day is not worthy of being president of the United States. Kamala vowed to abolish ICE, our great heroes of ICE. As California Attorney General, she redefined child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person as totally nonviolent crimes. She pledged to confiscate your guns and endorsed a total ban on handgun ownership. Would anybody in North Carolina want to give up your guns quietly? Oh. Oh, it could have had an impact on my hearing for the rest of my life. That's not going to be an easy job, is it? No, but that's where she comes from. She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention at taxpayer expense. So in conclusion, with your vote this November, we are going to fire Kamala and we're going to save America. Going to get her out. Going to get her out. All right, man. We're going to get her out. We will cut your taxes. end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to North Carolina where they belong. And I have a little personal favor that I'm going to do, North Carolina. I'm going to get your furniture builders and artists and manufacturers. We're going to bring them back. They left you for China. They're going to be coming back because this is where they want to be. I came down here so many times. I'd build a hotel. I said, I want to go to North Carolina. I came so much. I'd say, no, I like the arm to be a little bit on that chair, a little bing, 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 bing. These guys were so good. And now you have just a fraction of what you had. You're the best in the world. I'd buy from China and then they'd sit in the chair. Then the chair would collapse and I'd get sued. This is true. They'd sue me because the damn chair would break at a hotel. Mr. Jones would...
Ha elevado el tono en estos últimos minutos, en estos minutos de conclusión, Donald Trump, a pocos segundos de que termine ya este mitin en Rocky Mount, en North Carolina. Está hablando de salvar América, está hablando también de salvar la política de armas, en contraposición, ha dicho, de lo que quiere eliminar, ¿no?, la posesión de armas Kamala Harris, eso ha dicho Trump. También luego ha centrado, en modo de resumen, su discurso en estos segundos finales, bajar la inflación, bajar los impuestos, también luchar comercialmente contra China. Escuchamos estos últimos segundos.
I will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect that they so dearly deserve. We're going to take care of our police. We will strengthen and modernize our military. I rebuilt our military, and they gave a lot of it away to a place called Afghanistan in the most embarrassing moment of our country's life. We will build a missile defense shield massively. We are going to build the greatest, the biggest missile defense shield. A lot of it's going to be made right in the USA. It's all going to be made in the USA. It's going to be made right here, though, a lot of it. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., which is horribly run, which is filthy dirty, with graffiti all over columns and lions and everything else. And we're going to take care of our capital. We're going to make it beautiful and safe. We're not going to have people being killed there, but we're going to make our cities beautiful, clean, safe again. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we will get critical race theory and transgender insanity out of our schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports, if that's okay. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech. And I will defend the right to keep and bear arms, your Second Amendment. And I have everybody's endorsement, including the NRA, and always have had it. And it is under siege. Your Second Amendment is under siege. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are finally going to build up our country, defend our borders, and protect our citizens. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We will not be conquered. We will not be conquered. They are conquering us. They are conquering us from within. We will be a free and proud nation. Once again, everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive. And every day will be filled with opportunity and hope, and will be filled also with a thing called the American dream, something you don't hear about so much anymore. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda with a landslide that is too big to rig. You need to get out and vote. That's all you don't have to give me money. You don't have to give me anything. Just go out and vote. Who has voted so far? Who is going to vote? Okay, get out. Every vote. Thank you very much. That's very impressive. For the past 9 years, we have been fighting against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth. With your vote this election, you can show them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. Belongs to you guys. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country. And 6 days from now, it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help from now until Election Day, 6 days, we will restore America's promise and we will take back the nation that we all love. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down, and we will never, ever surrender. Together we will fight, 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 and win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, North Carolina. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.
Acaba de terminar ese último meeting en Rocky Mount, en North Carolina, de Donald Trump, arengando a las masas, sobre todo pidiéndoles que vayan a votar en un estado tan importante. Haremos Estados Unidos o América poderosa de nuevo, saludable de nuevo, fuerte de nuevo, grande de nuevo. Hemos escuchado en esa última parte, como decíamos, elevando también un poco el discurso. No seremos conquistados, ha dicho, en relación a las políticas migratorias, que están siendo también uno de los ejes principales de su campaña. Queremos recuperar los valores de Estados Unidos. Ha hablado de orgullo, de prosperidad, de sueño americano. Por repasar un poco lo que ha sido el mitin, se ha centrado en justamente las políticas migratorias, como estábamos diciendo, en salvar también políticas de armamento, que ha querido decir un poco más o menos que Kamala quiere eliminar las armas en Estados Unidos, ha reivindicado esas políticas de armas en el país, también ha hablado de bajar la inflación, de reducir la carga fiscal y luchar comercialmente contra China y por la independencia energética de Estados Unidos. Esto era el meeting en Rocky Mount, en North Carolina. Dentro de unas horas habrá otro en un estado clave en Estados Unidos, en Wisconsin, pero ahora vamos a pasar a escuchar a Karine Jean-Pierre, es secretaria de prensa de la Casa Blanca.
What he was trying to say, and so just want to make that very clear for folks who are watching. And I just want to read that out to folks. So he was regarding to the comedian, and I quote, "I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at the rally don't reflect who we are as a nation." And to your question, your other question that you asked, no, he does not view Trump supporters or anybody who supports Trump as garbage. That is not what he views. The president has said this for more than 3 years now. He has said multiple times that he is a president for all. It doesn't matter if you live in a red state. It doesn't matter if you live in a blue state. He has said this himself. I have said it on his behalf. He believes that he's a president for all. And it doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter if you voted for him or not. He's a president for all. But hateful rhetoric that he hears, and this is something that we've done many times from here, we will call that out. We will call that out. And that's what the president said.
Does he have any regret for not being more, his language was not specific. It came out, if you were listening to that video.
I was in the room, Amr, I was in the room.
I'm sorry, but if you were
I'm just telling you that I was in the room.
But if you were any sort of normal person listening to that video or looking at the clips online, you could come to the conclusion that he was calling, at minimum, this one man garbage, or not, if not all Trump supporters garbage. Should he be more? Does he regret not being more precise with his language? And does he also?
I'm waiting for the question to end, but
well,
keep going.
And I apologize.
Yeah,
the second part
ahead.
of that is, does he have any regret for how this has shadowed Vice President Harris's campaign?
So a couple of things there, because there's a lot that you laid out. Look, the president wanted to clarify because he understood that what he may have said he understood that what he was saying was being taken out of context. So he wanted to be very, very clear about what he was trying to say. And I just read that out once over. You all have the tweet, or the statement that's on X. If you want to read it right now, feel free to do so. And he was talking about hateful rhetoric, and we've called out hateful rhetoric from here. We have. Obviously, this hateful rhetoric was about a particular community, a community that the Puerto Rican community. They are Americans. This is a community that he respects, and he wanted to make sure he called that out. And hateful rhetoric should be called out. It should be. But at the same time, the president is a president for all. He will continue to do so. He will continue to serve for everyone. I want to step back for a second because I think this is really important. Yesterday, we went to Baltimore, Maryland. He announced a $3 billion project in Baltimore. That $3 billion project is going to help 27 states. 11 of those states have Republican governors. This is what this president cares about, making sure that people who are in need get the assistance that they need, right? He talked about port infrastructure, and we went to Baltimore. Obviously, we know what happened a couple of months ago with one of the bridges there, $147 million for Maryland in particular. But just think about it, 27 states, 11 states are Republican governors. And we're talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, which only Democrats voted for. Republicans didn't vote for that. Republicans tried to repeal that. Let's not forget what the speaker said yesterday about ACA, wanted to repeal ACA, which would hurt millions of Americans. And so that's what the president wants to focus on, which is why he wanted to make sure he clarified what he said. But if there is hateful rhetoric that is being said about communities, Americans, communities across this country, he's going to speak out about it. And it's not the first time that he's done so.
Just briefly, separately,
Yeah.
is Amos Hochstein and Brett McGurk headed back to the Middle East this week to try to revive ceasefire negotiations? And can you tell us anything about Bill Burns' travel?
So a couple of things.
Estamos escuchando a Karine Jean-Pierre, secretaria de prensa de la Casa Blanca. Está matizando las palabras de presidente Biden, que llegó a llamar basura, garbage, dijo a los seguidores de Donald Trump. Está matizando, según la secretaria de prensa de la Casa Blanca, no era una palabra que quisiera definir a todos los votantes o seguidores de Trump, sino simplemente a los que promueven el odio. Lo que quiere ahora Karine Jean-Pierre, es centrar el discurso en la ley del cuidado de salud a bajo precio, la Affordable Care Act, que es lo que quiere ahora mismo hablar, así que vamos a seguir escuchándola.
To engage on a range of issues, including Gaza, Lebanon, hostages, Iran, and border regional matters as well. In all of these engagement, you will see that the U.S. will reaffirm its ironclad commitment to Israel's security, its warning against any further direct military attacks by Iran against Israel, and its support for de-escalation backed by deterrence in the region more broadly. And that's the engagement that you will see from this administration over the next couple of days. Okay, Celine.
Thanks, Karine. So did President Biden make a mistake in his comments yesterday?
He clarified what he said. It was very clear what he was trying to do. He was wanting to make sure that what he said was not taken out of context, and he clarified that.
This isn't the first time the White House has had to defend or clarify the president's comments.
Nobody's defending the president himself. This is the president himself wanting to clarify what he said. He wanted to make sure that it was not taken out of context. These are the president's words. Nobody here is defending. We are laying out what the president said himself, and he wanted to clarify that.
So those comments were made as the vice president was speaking about unity at the Ellipse last night. Did the president speak to the vice president before or after that speech?
Well, I think in a gaggle that the vice president did not too long ago, she confirmed that she had a conversation with the president. The president was very proud of the vice president. She gave a historic speech last night, and he certainly wanted to congratulate her.
So that was after the speech.
That was
And
after
did
the
the
speech.
president make any reference to these remarks or apologize to the vice
What I
president?
can say is I'm not going to get into private discussions here. That's not something that we do from the podium. I'm not going to do that. But the president and the vice president speak regularly. That is not uncommon. She is the vice president. He is the president. So obviously they have direct communications pretty often. And he did have a conversation last night because he was proud of her historic speech, and he wanted to congratulate her. And again, they speak regularly.
And did you or anybody else speak to the president last night to seek clarification by what he meant once realizing it was being taken out of context?
I was in the room when he delivered his remarks last night and during the live stream. And what I can say is he himself wanted to make sure that there was clarity.
Karine Jean-Pierre sigue hablando con los periodistas que están centrando todas sus preguntas en esas palabras de ayer de Joe Biden, que llamó basura, garbage, a los seguidores de Trump. Según lo que ha explicado ahora Karine Jean-Pierre, secretaria de prensa de la Casa Blanca, no era todos los seguidores del expresidente, el candidato republicano, no era todos los seguidores de Trump, sino solo a los que promueven el odio. Ella está queriendo cambiar de tema. Los periodistas le siguen preguntando. La última pregunta ha sido si sabe si han hablado sobre este tema el actual presidente, Joe Biden, y la actual vicepresidenta y próxima candidata a la presidencia, Kamala Harris. Ha dicho que no hace falta, pero que Biden sigue estando muy orgulloso de su vicepresidenta y actual candidata demócrata. Seguimos escuchándolo.
Was the president reading from a script? It looked like he was reading from notes. Were those comments written out for him in some form?
Okay. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
No, finish. I want you to finish your statement. I'm sorry.
I was just, it would be useful to know whether there was a prepared remark that he was reading from, and if so, whether that should have been changed or whether he was ad libbing.
A couple of things. I'm not going to get into specific here. It's not unusual for a president or the vice president or any elected official to have notes in front of them when they're speaking to a crowd or to a group of people. That is not unusual. What I can say is the president wanted to make sure that his words were not being taken out of context. And so he wanted to clarify, and that's what you heard from the president. He was very aware. And I would say, I think it's really important that you have a president that cares about clarifying what they said. And that's what you see from this president. He took it upon himself to clarify what he said. And I think that says a lot about who Joe Biden is, that he wanted to make sure it was clear that he was talking about the comedian and the hateful rhetoric that was coming from this comedian just a couple of days ago.
There have been a lot of comparisons made to the Hillary Clinton remark using the word deplorables. Has the president indicated to you any concern that this one comment that he has clarified now could have similar reverberations to that previous comment? I mean, he was certainly active in politics then and was aware of the impact that had.
I'm not going to go back and litigate 2016. I'm just not going to do that from here. He was not speaking about Trump supporters. He was not as a whole. He was not speaking about people who support a different candidate. That is not what he was doing. And he clarified that in his statement last night. That was not his intent. He wanted to be very clear about that. Hence, again, why he said he was speaking about comments that were made by the comedian. And let's not forget, we can't forget, what we heard was the demonization of Latinos. That's what we heard of a community. By the way, and I know you all know this, Puerto Ricans are Americans. He wanted to make sure that, we speak out against hateful rhetoric. It's important to do that. Was he talking about Trump supporters? Absolutely not. As a whole, absolutely not.
I just have a
Sure.
question. So the president of who was just here visiting President Biden, said of Cyprus, said that he thought that there could be some movement on a Lebanon ceasefire within 1 to 2 weeks. He said that he had discussed this matter with President Biden. I wonder if you can give us a sort of an indication of whether you think that is also true, that there could be a ceasefire in Lebanon within 1 to 2 weeks. And if you could just comment on Israel's ban of UNRWA and whether you think that's helpful for the process.
So look, we're going to remain committed to reaching a diplomatic resolution here to end the conflict along the blue line, which will allow Israelis and also Lebanese civilians on both sides to return to their homes. And this is something that we've been pretty consistent about, and we're going to continue to have certainly that commitment to have diplomatic resolution to end what we're seeing along the blue line. Look, and we're also been very consistent to not negotiating certainly in public. That is not something that we're going to do from here. We're going to certainly be optimistic, and we are committed to that. Just not going to go into any kind of where we are with those conversations, what's happening. We're not going to certainly negotiate out from here. As it relates to, I'm assuming you're speaking about the Knesset vote on UNRWA. So look, certainly we are deeply troubled by that, by this legislation that could shut down UNRWA operations in the West Bank, Gaza, and also East Jerusalem. So we urge the government of Israel, we're having this conversation with the government of Israel to pause implementing this legislation. We urge the government of Israel certainly to ensure UNRWA can effectively carry out its mission and facilitate humanitarian assistance. But we also support steps to strengthen UNRWA as well, in part so that UNRWA's impartiality and neutrality, including to respond to allegations, as you have all covered, to ties to terrorism.
Hablando Karine Jean-Pierre, portavoz de prensa de la Casa Blanca, acerca ahora de la situación en la Franja de Gaza, situación en Oriente Próximo. Decía Karine Jean-Pierre que Estados Unidos continúa firmemente comprometido con conseguir la paz en la región y dice que desde la administración de Biden se sigue trabajando en esa dirección. Las conversaciones están avanzando a pesar de las dificultades. Ahí queda esa rueda de prensa de Karine Jean-Pierre. Nosotros vamos a empezar ahora con un poquito de retraso, cuando son las 8:10 hora central europea, con el cierre de Wall Street. Y empezamos mirando pantallas, mirando índices de renta variable, cuando quedan 40 minutos para que termine la cotización de los índices norteamericanos, en una jornada de indefinición y de signo mixto, con los índices pendientes de la temporada de resultados. Ayer al cierre presentó Alphabet unas cuentas que gustaron mucho al mercado y que dispararon a la compañía. Hoy continuaremos con compañías del sector, como es el caso de Meta. Se lo vamos a contar aquí, esos resultados cuando los tengamos. En tiempo real, índices de renta variable estadounidenses, como decimos, mostrando indefinición. Un Nasdaq que retrocede un 0,19 y cotiza en los 18.677 puntos. Un Standard & Poor's 500 que recorta un 0,12 y cotiza en los 5.825 puntos. Y un Dow Jones que está plano en los 42.231 puntos. Estaba liderando ganancias hasta ahora. Alphabet, la compañía, la matriz de Google, cotiza en tiempo real y lo hace con avances del 4,2% hasta los $176,84. Y si miramos a otras compañías del sector, vamos a ver cómo está cotizando antes de presentar resultados.